Hey guys, what's up? So today we are going to talk about co-parenting. I get a lot of questions. How do you co-parent amicably? How do you get along? How do you not let your feelings involved with that other parent that you are no longer with affect how your children are raised? And it's a very simple thing. It's called an olive branch, okay? You have to agree to disagree. You have to understand that your children come first. My first husband and I have been separated for over 10 years now, or 8 years, 8 years, 8 or 9 years. I can't remember. It's been too long. But we get along great, okay? We do not argue. We do not fight. We have never put our children in the middle of anything. We have a great co-parenting relationship. We get along great. Basically, I mean, on Halloween every year, we go trick-or-treating as a family. And I actually have a younger child from my second marriage. Her father is no longer with us. He passed away in 2019. But the co-parenting relationships between my first husband and my second husband were completely different. My first husband and I have always gotten along. We tolerated each other the first 3 years we were separated. When we were getting divorced, we sat down together in our home, in our kitchen, and we laid everything out. We were not ugly or anything like that. We did it peacefully, and that's the number one thing that we wanted to hold true to our children. Is our children are never going to see us argue. They're never going to see us fight, okay? So that's the number one rule that I say is try to be as nice as possible. Never ever put your children in the middle. Make sure that your children are never there whenever you and your ex-spouse or their other parent are in a disagreement after you have separated, because you don't want to make them feel like they have to choose sides. My second husband, on the other hand, not so easy. I was a domestic abuse survivor from him, and it was his way or the highway. Everything was an argument. There was no middle ground. It was a nightmare. And so I knew that I was never going to have a good co-parenting relationship with him. He, like I said, passed away in 2019 of a car accident. So I didn't have to really deal with that more than a couple of years, more than about 3 years. And it was hell. And even though I tried to be the better person, he would trash talk me in front of my daughter. He would try to start a fight in front of my daughter whenever we were picking up, dropping off. So it was a nightmare. So, the best thing I can tell people is extend an olive branch. If you have to tolerate each other for the first couple of years, great, fine, but leave your kids out of it. But try to work on that relationship. Try to build a friendship. My first husband and I, we get along great. We co-parent great. And we're even friends. I mean, we can go to family functions together and get along and laugh. It's not like where there's a whole bunch of built up anger and animosity and tension in the room when we're together. We laugh, we get along, our families get along. And we did that because of our children. We wanted them to be raised knowing that they are loved by both parents, and even though both parents are no longer together, they can still be in the same room. We did not want to put our children through, well, I'm graduating, who am I going to invite, mom or dad, because they can't get along? I'm getting married, I'm having a baby. We know that even though you might not be with that person anymore, being a parent does not stop after the age of 18. Being a co-parent does not stop after the age of 18. Okay? There are things that your children are going to accomplish in their life when they are older. And it's going to be beautiful, and you want to be there, and you don't want your children to feel like they have to choose between one parent or the other because you can't get along. And that's the one thing that we kept in mind whenever we were doing our separation and our custody agreement, and why we extended olive branches to each other, so that we could both be there to share in the important, happy memories of our children without feeling like we're putting them out or we're causing undue stress. So extend an olive branch, guys. It's not going to be overnight. Don't argue in front of your kids. Don't drag your kids into the middle of your arguments. Don't trash talk your ex-partner in front of your children, because at the end of the day, that is their parent just like you are, and you would not want somebody trash talking you. It's up to you as a parent to be an adult and to put on your big girl and big boy panties and to extend an olive branch to become great co-parents so that you can get along for your children's sake. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go out with that person, but it does mean that for your children's sake, you need to think about what makes them happy, and I mean, our children, they are very happy, and they it took a little bit for them to get adjusted back and forth. One of the things we did with our custody is we did pick up and drop off on Fridays so that it's not interfering with the school schedule. So when they would get off of school on Fridays, I would pick them up on my week, and then on the following Friday it would be his week and he would pick them up. So they were actually in the same home for 6 days straight, so that, or 6.5 days straight, so that they weren't going back and forth in the middle of the week, because it really does cause undue chaos in your child's life. So that's one thing we were really mindful about. Make sure that, you know, whenever you're separating, you actually iron out everything when it comes to custody, any child support that's supposed to be involved, any payments, health insurance, extracurricular activity, college tuition is very, very important. A lot of people tend to forget that, and then they find themselves back in court years later after years of hatred between one another, and it just makes the problem so much worse. So you can build a very great co-parenting relationship with your ex-spouse or your ex-partner. You just have to be the bigger person, and you have to have that talk. You can't tiptoe around it. You have to say, look, I want what is best for our children. You and I both know we are no longer together. We are not good together. You need to move on with your life. I need to move on with my life. However, when it comes to our children, we need to be a whole unit. Even though we're not together doesn't mean that we can't stand united. And that's one thing that a lot of parents forget about amongst the emotions of separation and divorce. So it is possible to have a great co-parenting relationship. You just have to be a friend. And there are times, I mean, my ex will call me and talk to me about this girl he's dating. One girl, he said she was crazy as hell, and I laughed and was like, well, I kind of knew that the first time I saw her. But you know, doesn't mean you have to be best friends, but it does mean you at least need to get along for your children's sake, okay? Don't drag your kids into it. Don't let them overhear the negative stuff that you're saying. Don't let them overhear the arguments that you're saying, because they're kids. They don't need to be in the middle of that. They need to live happy lives knowing that they were loved by both of their parents. You don't need to use your kids as a bargaining chip. You don't need to use your kids to be spiteful. You know, be an adult, grow up. You made the decision to make that child. You need to make the decision to be an adult and to co-parent for that child's sake, because at the end of the day, your children are what are most important, not your vendetta against your ex, not the animosity you have towards them, not the bad things that happened during your marriage or your partnership. Your kids weren't involved in that. That had nothing to do with them, so do not drag them into it. And that's where a lot of parents go wrong, is they actually end up dragging their children into adult situations they have no business being in the middle of. They actually use their kids as bargaining chips to get what they want. They actually, you know, try to wreak havoc on the other person's life by using their children. And that's not fair to your child. And I can promise you, children notice this kind of thing, especially when they get older. And if they've grown up having to deal with that their whole life, at the end of the day, when they're adults, at some point or another, they're going to realize who had their best interest at heart and who did not. And they're going to realize that they may have some animosity towards you as a parent for putting them in that situation. So if you want to be in your kids' lives and you want to make them happy, co-parent. You don't have to go out for mojitos. You don't have to go to the movies. You don't have to go trick-or-treating like we do every year. You know, we go trick-or-treating as a family every year, even though I have a younger daughter from another marriage. And he treats her great. His family treats her great. Our families still get along because we all realize we are one big family, and the most important aspect that brought us together as a family is our children. And so because of that, we want to make sure they have the best, happiest life ever. And it's not easy. There are some times that, yes, we do disagree, but we agree to disagree. And we always come to an alternative decision that, you know, complements both of our opinions. So we don't use our kids as bargaining chips. We don't put our kids in the middle of anything. And that's really the most important thing whenever you are trying to co-parent with someone. Stop letting your personal feelings get in the way. Don't worry about what they're doing. Unless your children are in some type of harm or in a situation where they can become hurt, what that person is doing in their life is none of your business. Once you separate and you cut ties with that person in a relationship, who they date is none of your business. And I understand that, you know, a lot of women and men too don't want to be replaced. Guys, here's the thing. Nobody can replace you as a parent. Okay, you are that child's mother or you are that child's father. You cannot be replaced as a parent. But think about it this way. Instead of feeling like you're being replaced because your ex-spouse or ex-partner has found someone new and it seems like it might be going somewhere, imagine the love that that person can bring to your children. As long as that person loves your children and is treating your children with the respect that they deserve, and they are not undermining you, and they are supportive of your children, they are supportive of your co-parenting relationship, that is what matters most. And, you know, I joke around with my ex all the time and tell him, I wish you would just find some nice woman to marry. And he actually found a woman at one time that I absolutely loved. I thought she was great. She loved my kids. She was awesome. And it didn't work out. But rather than thinking, oh, he's trying to replace me, I looked at it as, great, there's somebody that loves my kids as much as I do and supports them and wants to be there for them. And that's just more love for them growing up. That's just more love that they get to see coming from somebody who is not their mom or their dad or a part of their family as of yet. So, you know, you got to put your personal feelings aside. You got to stop thinking everybody's trying to replace you. You are irreplaceable as a parent. As long as you have been a good parent, the love you have for your child and the affection you show that child, it's irreplaceable. Nobody can replace a mom and nobody can replace a dad, okay? So, you know, get out of the mindset of they're trying to replace me. They're my kids. Don't be, you know, I see people all the time. My ex's new girlfriend put a picture of my kids up on Facebook and it irritates me. You know, I can understand if it's a new person, but guys, if they've been together with that person for at least 6 months, you have to understand at some point they're going to be doing stuff together as a family. Even though they may not be a family as of yet, it's going to happen. Be blessed and be appreciative of the fact that this person loves your children. This person is trying to be a part of your children's lives because they love them and not just shrug them off. Because I mean, I'll be honest, my ex has dated women who could care less at my kids. He's dated women that have walked in the house and never even said a word to my kids. And, you know, that pisses me off. That's what makes me mad. You know, you can't be in a relationship with a person who has children if you're going to treat them badly. As long as you treat them good, then that's all that matters. So that's how you build a good co-parenting relationship. That's how you make sure you put your children first. And that's how you ensure that your children are going to end up with possibly a step parent that loves them. Be appreciative of it. You know, be thankful for the fact that someone loves your children as much as you do. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters.